So, my mission for this vid was to test how far we can actually push Companion Druid, because for the longest time, the glaring weakness of Companion Druid comes in the form of, why are you not playing Necromancer right now? And so I still went through with making a Companion Druid just to see how much content you can actually do. So I was thinking, I'm tired of being the hero, you know? I just want to lay back and just give orders, because I've gotten tired of just flexing my werebear muscles casting Landslide. Okay, let's talk items. So, on my helmet I have Shaco with the cooldown reduction masterwork. If you can get it to triple masterwork on the cooldown reduction, more power to you, I guess. But that is the goal. We just use it as a cooldown for our Earthen Bulwark and our Cataclysm. That's basically what the cooldown is for. For the armor, we have Tyrael Smite, and it's mainly for the damage reduction, and at the same time, the Unleash Divine Barrage. If you can get damage reduction and maximum resistance to all elements, I think that's good. And on the gloves, we have Willpower, Attack Speed, and Critical Strike Chance with a GA on Attack Speed. If you had to choose, I'd still use Attack Speed as the GA. If you have both Attack Speed and Critical Strike Chance GA, then don't use it on this build. Honestly, just go create a Sorceress, a Lightning Spear Sorceress or something that can benefit from the gloves. But for this one, just a basic Attack Speed GA would be fine. On the aspect, we have kills have a 5% chance to summon a wolf companion. This is gonna be helpful for our amulet later on. That's in total you're gonna have 6 wolves, and in addition you gain 3 ranks to wolves. So wolves is gonna be our main damaging ability. This pants is basically your enabler for this build because of 2 things. If you look at the lucky hit chance for the pack leader Spirit Boon, the second affix, that is actually a lot. That's 200%. If I remove this and you ask what is the pack leader Spirit Boon, well, it's this one here. Critical strikes have up to 25% chance to reset the cooldown of your companion skills. So if we go back and if we equip that, that actually turns into 77%. So that is a lot. And at the same time, the unique gives the ability to change our wolf companions. I don't know, it just gives them with the power of storm. This is kind of vague. The description is kind of vague, but what it doesn't actually tell you is on your abilities without the pants, it just says that wolf, if you look at the item, the category that it's in, it's a companion and chain. The werewolf, that's coming from a different aspect. We'll discuss in a little bit. But once you have it, it actually changes it into a nature and storm. So now you see there's nature and storm in the upper part, below the item contribution. That gives us access to the damage multipliers for storm and nature magic once we get into the Paragon board. So that's why this can deal lots of damage because of the pants, basically. Then for the boots, we have Wild Heart Hunger. We're using it for the main ability, which is when you shapeshift into a werewolf or werebear, you gain Wild Heart, and that's stacking damage up to 50%. I just have it for 50%, but you can go 60%. So if you have better boots, that's better. And if you can choose a GA, I would suggest maybe movement speed or shapeshifting attack speed. I think is the best. Yeah. Second by movement speed, because you are gonna be walking most of the time here. The wolves are gonna be doing most of the damage. Next, on my sword, I have willpower, damage, and critical strike damage. Obviously, you can go willpower, maximum life, and critical strike damage. And okay, ignore the temper that you see here, which is the Earth Spike. We don't actually use Earth Spike here, but I was playing around with it. That's supposed to be, what is it? Maul. Yeah, Maul size. And then critical strike damage, secondary temper. Your companions gain double the bonus from the Bestial Rampage key passive. That is our aspect on our sword. If we look at the skill tree again, what is the key passive? Bestial Rampage actually is you gain attack speed after being a werewolf for 2 seconds. For being a werebear, you gain 50% increased damage. So what the aspect does is it gains twice the bonus of this for your companion. So I'm targeting. That's why I have Maul. It's because so I can stay as a werebear and grant that 50% increased damage, which is multiplied by 2. That's 100 increased damage for my companions. Then for our totem, we have willpower, max life, critical strike chance. Critical strike chance again, which is needed for the pack leader, spirit bone, and damage to close. That's gonna be related to the Paragon glyphs. Oh wait, no. What is it called? Legendary nodes on the Paragon board. And our aspect is gonna be a Stampede. Gain 1 additional companion. In addition, your companion skills deal 30% increased bonus damage. So that's multiplicative. That's actually great. On the ring, we have Mjolnir Ring. We are basically using Cataclysm just as a means to increase our damage. That I would prioritize the unique, the description, the unique power here, which is while Cataclysm is active, you gain unlimited spirit and deal 100% increased damage. On the second ring, we have Alpha. Willpower, critical strike chance, and critical strike damage. So, damage to close enemies, that's for the Paragon board, and then Cataclysm cooldown, because we are using Cataclysm. We just want to be able to spam Cataclysm for the damage buff. It's not really our main damage dealer anyways, so that's that. And for the aspect, your werewolves, your wolf companions are now werewolf companions, so they also deal increased damage of 130. 30% more damage. On the amulet, we have attack speed and venom and Cult of the Wild. This is probably one of the rare instances where Envenom is not king. I know, because I know, like, Envenom is basically the holy grail of all Druid builds that use the legendary amulet. It's always the top priority when it comes to masterworking. But in this case, it's actually Call of the Wild. So, if you can get Call of the Wild triple mastery, that would be better for this build. And on the tempers, we have damage to close enemies, Cataclysm cooldown, and then on the aspect, its companion skills deal an additional 15% damage per companion you have. So that is in line with the other aspect on the gloves, where we potentially have additional 3 wolves. So in total, if you have 6 wolves active, then that's gonna be 90% increase in total. Okay, let's talk skills. On my basic skill, I have Maul. We are using that to make ourselves to transform into the werebear for the Bestial Rampage key passive. And at the same time, we are gaining Fortify and we can knock down enemies. On the core skills, we are taking Predatory Instinct. That gives us critical strike chance increased by 6%, and Iron Fur while we are in werebear form. So this only works when we are casting Maul. It's not going to work when we're casting the companion skills, because regardless of whether you have the Insatiable Fury or the Mad Wolf's Glee, you will always be casting this as a human. So, on the defensive skills, we have Earthen Bulwark to get us out, grants you unstoppable, and then I just took this so we could have more Fortify. And we take Ancestral Fortitude and then 3 in Vigilance. Next up, on the companion skills, we are gonna take Max Wolves, Enhanced Wolf Pack, and then Wolves, Brutal Wolf Pack. Poison Creeper, we're taking the Brutal Poison Creeper. This grants us 20% increased critical strike chance. So that's why I said earlier that the cap for this build for critical strike chance is lower, relatively lower. With this and your Predatory Instinct, your cap for critical strike chance is basically 74. So that's it. And then Call of the Wild, your companion skills deal bonus damage. This is why I said this is better than in Venom, because each point in this is 12%. Meanwhile, in Venom is 10% per level. So, and this needs to crit. But even though we are always gonna crit, 12% on multiple levels, that's gonna be huge. On the Wrath skills, we're just taking Elemental Exposure and then Endless Tempest. We do have Cataclysm, so we're increasing the duration of that. But on this side, we have Mending for increased life as a Werebear, and then Neurotoxin and Venom. So lastly, we're taking Cataclysm and then Prime Cataclysm. We don't need the Supreme Cataclysm, basically, because we have the Ravens. They do the vulnerable for us. And Defiance and then Natural Disaster. On this side, we have Quick Shift. This does work. And Natural Fortitude just for additional Fortify. And then this is just because of the boots. You can ignore that. But this is the Bestial Rampage I was discussing earlier. So we need to be in Werebear for 2 seconds, and that will give our companions 100% increased damage. So now we've talked about the skills, we can go to the Paragon Board. So I'll just focus on the major things here. On the first board, we are taking Outmatch. That's 16% increased physical damage to non-elites and bosses. And on the second board, we're taking Malice, Heightened Malice. This works. 45 increased damage when there are 3 or more poisoned enemies. And we are casting Poison Creeper every time. You're gonna get that bonus damage. Next, on this, we are taking Earth and Sky. Again, because of the pants, the wolves are now nature magic, so we are getting that sweet bonus. Next up, on this, we have Thunderstruck. Storm skills deal increased damage equal to 20% of your damage versus close and damage versus distant bonuses. I only have 57, so yeah, you can probably get the maximum, which is 60% with the damage versus close. That's why we have the tempers on that, on the amulet, the gloves, amulet, ring, and totem. Yeah. Okay, where were we? So there's that. We're taking that Thunderstruck, and then we're using the Keeper glyph. You and your companions deal 10% non-physical damage. And next board, we are taking Spirit for critical strike damage, and at the same time the bonus 12% if we get to that point. Next board, we have Territorial. This grants us damage reduction against close enemies, but at the same time it also gives us increased damage to close targets per dexterity glyph here. We are taking 53. That's gonna add up again to the Thunderstruck key passive. And maybe you can manipulate you can add more nodes here. I'm still experimenting with the Paragon board, but this is what I have right now. And on the last board, we have Wilds. What this gives you is it gives companion skills increased damage. And the passive portion of companion skills deal 130% increased damage. So that's when they're just attacking on their own. You're not commanding them. They're gonna deal increased damage. And I am taking the Inner Beast, a legendary node, because we have Cataclysm. And while we do cast our skills, we're gonna be casting. We're gonna be shapeshifting a lot of times. So that's why this is gonna help with keeping Cataclysm active and not on cooldown. And that's it. Yeah. How does the build play? Well, actually, you just cast all of your companion skills, cast Cataclysm for the additional damage, and you'll see the damage ramp up. So one thing to do note here is, yeah, you have to keep maintaining your what is it called? You have to keep, what is that called? I keep forgetting. A bestial rampage. Yeah, you have to be in werewolf form for at least 2 seconds. So you switching and casting wolves, for example, that doesn't count. You have to stay in it for 2 seconds. So I guess that's the drawback. You have to always remember before you fight, just turn into a werebear and then start hitting after 2 seconds. But that's basically it, yeah. And then you have Cataclysm, and that'll increase our damage. And then you can see here, it does reach 150, maybe 200. And I know what you're thinking. Like, 200 million damage in Season 5? Groundbreaking. Okay, so the question now is, how does the build actually feel? Well, it does have its weaknesses. It's primarily good for bosses when you're dealing damage to one target, but when it comes to AoE, like let's say Infernal Hordes, I'm not gonna lie, it is gonna suck. It is bad. You're not gonna be able to get a lot of ether because there are times where you're running around, you can't cast wolves for some reason. There's some jank to them. They're not jumping most of the not most, but some of the time they're not jumping to the target. So that's bad. Hopefully Blizzard does fix this. They're not as aggressive as the Necromancer's minions, so that's one thing to keep in mind. But it is really good at bossing. You can kill Lilith, you can do tormented bosses, no problem with that. You can even do pits. I think pits is better than Infernal Hordes with this build because of the way dungeons are. The monsters spawn in clumps in different areas of the map. They're not coming towards you all at the same time, like in Infernal Hordes. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And let me know your thoughts about this build. Maybe there's some things that I missed. Let me know how, or if you want to see some other builds that I can test, and let me know. Thank you, like and subscribe. Bye bye.